Shirley Lind, and I started beekeeping. Well, I didn't really start beekeeping, but I inherited the beekeeping mentality when I married this guy here. And that would be 49 years ago. That's for survival, okay. Actually, I never kept bees. In fact, I never went around the bees except for once or twice when I put a brown paper bag over my head to make sure I didn't get them in my hair. Number of stings, I think only one in all that time. But I kept as far away from them as I could. I learned to cook with honey. At one point, we were very active in the Minnesota Beekeeping Association, and at one time, I produced a honey pamphlet cookbook for them. But that was long ago and far away.
Denny Lind. I started beekeeping in 1949. I've had as many as 700 colonies. And what else? Oh, I've been stung, not an awful lot, but there have been times when I've been stung 40 to 50 times in one day.
Not a lot,
but not every day does that happen. Most of the time, one or two stings probably working a full day with the bees.
He looks really cute though when they get into his veil and he gets it stuck around the eyes.
My name is Jack Brigham. Started beekeeping in 1976, so that's 41 years ago. I've had as many as 200 hives. I have 4 now. And I seldom get stung now. I was stung, the first year I had bees, I had 2 colonies, and I was stung more times that year than the other 40 years combined.
I'm Jim Whitlock. I started beekeeping in 1978. About this time of the year, I read all winter long every book I could possibly lay my hands on. And when I got going with beekeeping, I found out the book wasn't right. I've been stung lots of times, but I'm awful careless. So it's my own fault, but I have always felt that that's an issue that if you're going to be a beekeeper, you better not worry about it. I worked with a guy for 20 years when we went to California. And he run around 2,500 to 3,000 hives, and he never ever brought even a pair of gloves along.
Yeah, I've never worn gloves keeping bees.
Oh,
yeah, that's a good.
When my son was with me, 2,000.
Well, fantastic. Can you hear me with this kind of voice?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try to stay away from this. So, I mean, that's really shows us kind of the longevity, as we say, with our Graybees. For me, 16 stings over about 8 years, so that's not too bad. But the last one sent me to the emergency room, so that's kind of the bad part. So the next question is, what made you take up beekeeping and become a bee person? Maybe, yes, go ahead, start with Gene.
I could start. When my uncle moved to town, which was 2 houses up the street, he brought his bees to town, and I was about 5 years old. And I'd sit up there, we'd watch them go to the watering pan. And I was fascinated about bees and thought someday I'll have bees. In fact, when they had an auction, I bought as little as about a 4-inch smoker, which I don't use. In fact, I don't use a smoker. But anyhow, I still have that as kind of a, just one of those things you have to have. So.
Ed?
What was the question?
The question is, what made you take up beekeeping and become a bee person?
What made me become a beekeeper? My wife wouldn't let me raise tropical fish. I used to raise tropical fish commercially.
you're serious?
And she decided that we needed to go south in the winter, and you cannot do that with tropical fish because they have to be kept. These you can put in the back burner for a couple of months.
Okay.
Well, I inherited it. That fall, I'm gonna say.
When I was either 10 or 11, I really don't remember which it was, we had a neighbor about 1/4 of a mile away that I would mow his lawn, and one day when I was mowing, a swarm came out and I watched him catch the swarm. And then I would go down and watch the bees going in and out of the hive and just kind of wonder what was going on. And one day his wife called and said there was a swarm and she couldn't get it herself. Would I come down and help? So I did go down and help her. He wasn't there. And that really fascinated me. And so now I saw the inside of a hive and what it looked like. And there was a fellow in town that he had some hives for sale. So my dad and I went over there and I bought a single-story hive for $5. I picked the one that, he had quite a few there, I picked the one that had the most bees going in and out of it because I didn't know what else to base which one I should take on. So, and then we had another neighbor that had about a dozen hives, and he said I could put my hive in with his hive if I keep all the weeds down around the hives. So that's what I did. About a month later, the bee inspector came, and they burned my hive. It was a full American fall brood. And so the bee inspector went with me to where I bought bee from and got my $5 back. The problem was this fellow where I had the bees, he was a doctor and he figured that all of his equipment was contaminated. So my dad, I wasn't there, my dad went up and talked to him, come back and he said, wow, you're $300 in debt, but you own the hives. And that was right about the time that they started using sulfa for control of the American fall brood. It didn't work very good, and it wasn't good to use because it didn't break down in a liquid like terramycin does. And so, but that year, none of the rest of them came down on fall brood. I did go around with the bee inspector to look at other hives. I found out what fall brood was and exactly what it looked like, especially in the beginning stages. And I got enough honey from those hives to pay for them that same year.
I don't remember what sparked my interest. When I saw that question, I racked my brain and I thought, well, maybe back in the 70s there, I was a college student protesting the Vietnam War, and perhaps some of the recreational drugs were fairly common and had something to do with why I can't remember how I got into... well, I figure if the former president, half the Supreme Court, and 2/3 of the Congress can admit to having smoked marijuana, I can as well. And I'll bet you there's at least one of you that might have partaken at some point in the past, but you probably didn't inhale either. But like Jim said, once I read an article or was exposed to it, I read all winter. I read everything I could get my hands on, and I'm sure someone here can refresh my memory, but I went to Bethel College in St. Paul, and so I was fairly close to the U of M ag campus there, and the head of the entomology department back then, Dr. Frigala, thank you. But I started going to some of his lectures and classes, and of course there was no internet, so you couldn't just dial up a video to see how to install a hive or something. But I went there on a Saturday morning, my bees came, and the newbies went, and we watched Dr. Frigala install a package, and I went home and installed mine, and been at it ever since.
Basically, I think it was independence, but it was also the fact that I was raised on a dairy farm. And I knew before I was 10 years old that I was not going to be a dairy farmer.
Took you till you were 10?
Well, I didn't move on to the farm until I was 9. But it hit me very strongly that I did not have to be there every morning and every night and all the day way in between. I could get my work done, and I didn't care when I did it, night or day. And believe me, if you're a migratory beekeeper, you will do it night and day.
Kind of related to that question then too is, where did you learn the art and science of beekeeping? Did you learn from somebody, or if so, who? You know, we heard that from Jack, right? But Gene, if you can get us started with that question, please.
Okay, I got started a little bit by the seat of my pants until I met Denny Lind. And he was really my mentor until he finally said, you know, you ought to take the short course at the university. Because I was bugging him quite a bit with questions. So I took the short course, and it kind of pointed me in a straighter line towards learning beekeeping.
I also started off by the seat of my pants, but the short course was really nice. And by the way, the University of Minnesota also has a queen rearing course, and if you haven't taken either one of those courses, they're very, very nice and very, very worthwhile going to. They have fantastic classes up there. Oh, and you have to register early because they sell out.
Actually, I learned a lot from Denny, but we went to all of the meetings like this meeting and learned from other beekeepers. We were involved with Dr. Fergala and learned a lot from him. I took the short course, Danny and I took that together, and we took the queen rearing course. So I guess from a multitude of places that I learned, but I sure listened a lot and learned quite a bit about it.
I got most of my early information from Dr. Adak, who was at the University of Minnesota. They had a spring class there. It was mostly commercial beekeepers, but he kind of took me under his wing, and he got me a couple of books that really explained the biology of the bee, which he told me was, if you don't understand that, you'll never really be a good beekeeper. And he was right. And that really got me going in the right direction. I also went around with the bee inspector every summer for at least 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And I learned a lot from that too, because I saw what other beekeepers were doing. And there were some real experiences doing that.
So yeah, like I said, Dr. Fergala, and I think I was lucky because I didn't have a mentor like one of these guys to learn a bunch of bad habits from.
I've got a lot of friends that took me under their wing. I did have some help from one of the guys even on this stage. I bought my first extractor from him. It was Denny. I met Dale Wolf up at Baldwin, Wisconsin, because I lived at Hager City at that time in Wisconsin, which is, if you don't know where it is, it's right across the river from Red Wing. And I volunteered to help him extract honey if he would extract mine. And of course, the prices was free for both of us. So he thought that was a good deal. So I learned a little bit along that line. And then I started with the first bees actually in 1978. Oh, excuse me. I started commercial beekeeping in 1988. And I bought a bunch of packages to go with the 100 hives I already had. And that was the best year I've ever had in my life, and that kind of gets you clocked if you get a honey crop of 180 pounds, and that's the average per hive, which I did in 1988. But then in 1988 winter, 90% of them passed away from trachea mite. So now I had a little money to go and buy some more, and I went back in. And then I met a commercial beekeeper who has now passed away, Paul Peterson,